Welcome to another episode of a Students to Classified Market Supporting Guide, the professional segment of the Intentional Intern podcast. As always, I'm happy you guys are here. Welcome back. Recently, I saw someone talk about LinkedIn being their favorite form of social media, and honestly, I get it. While every social media has its pros and cons, LinkedIn is definitely one of my favorite apps at the moment. I love seeing people win and change their lives there, especially through opportunities that others open their eyes to. So it's a little bit different than Instagram and I would say Twitter, beyond like the pictures part, but I really enjoy getting to see people celebrate and connect with others and start new journeys. On that note, I'm super excited to have who I call one of the gems for Gen Z, Jade Walters, on the podcast today. I can't think of any other ways to introduce Jade besides stating the obvious. She's a multi-dimensional change maker. Jade is an employer branding specialist who specializes in uniquely connecting students to opportunities through early career campus recruitment. She's also the founding editor of an early career blog called The Ninth Semester, where she provides resources for Gen Z looking to get internships, campus programs, entry-level roles, and so much more. She also runs a blog called Love Jade Carson that's centered around her personal interests of love and beauty. Throughout the episode, Jade and I talk about her career journey, being Gen Z, what motivates her, making her own seat at the table, and so much more. Jade is just as much of a vibe in conversation, just like her content. She's a charismatic creative who's changing the world. If you're not following Jade, her LinkedIn and IG will be linked below. Not only does she share resources on LinkedIn, but she has an IG channel for students too. Without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Hi, Jade. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you for having me.
Oh, always. And so I can't wait for us to get into all these topics that we're going to talk about. And I think the great segue to go into this is just telling us a little bit more about who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jade. I'm the founding editor of the early career resources blog, The Ninth Semester, which is aimed at helping connect Gen Z professionals with early career tips, tricks, and job opportunities.
Awesome. I love to hear that. And so, beyond just your professional side of what you do as an editor and creator of the ninth semester, what are some things that you like to do for fun that ground you outside of professionalism?
Mhm. I'm currently really into watching 911 on Hulu. That's like been it's kind of like I like to describe it as like the firefighter version of Grey's Anatomy. So that's been really fun to watch. And I'm into gaming. Like I play Sims 4 and I have a Switch in as well. Like I just got the Super Princess Peach game if anyone has that. And I have the pink Joy-Con. So it's like I've been playing that and I love cooking, I love reading, like I have a huge book collection, but a lot of my hobbies are pretty much creative, but like I love like incorporating just like who I am as a creative in a lot of my hobbies. Like for Sims 4, an example, I'm really into writing and just storytelling. So like the stories that I have for my Sims are just very intricate and detailed and dramatic, and it's just fun. And it's just like my creative outlets are just a way for me to just express myself. But then I also have creative outlets as a way to relieve any stress that I have in my life.
Awesome. So, it seems like just being a creator is kind of built into you. Like, that's just something in your spirit that's there.
Yeah, I will definitely say that. Like I'm definitely someone who I try my best to keep my hobbies away from just like what makes me money, cuz sometimes you can merge those two and it can become slightly it could be a slightly toxic combo, but I can't help but just get involved with just like creative stuff, like even just in the roles that I pursue professionally, like I need to have some sort of creative element just because it's being creative just very much like embedded in who I am and in my blood and everything. So I need creative roles.
Yeah. And going off of that, can you tell us about how you got to creating the ninth semester? What's that about?
Yeah, so the ninth semester came from two different reasons. One of those reasons would be like I had just graduated. I had graduated from Howard University in May 2021, and I had made that transition to working into marketing. I got my degree in maternal and child health, and I was going to go the public health route. But then I decided that I just wanted to pursue the things that make me happy. And like I love maternal health and I love just that realm and I know I can go back to it, but I wanted to try something different. So just making that career switch, it was really hard to just find resources and just entry level jobs as a whole. Like if you're not a business student, it is really hard to find those professional development resources. So I was looking for that. And I knew some things because I've been involved in different professional development programs and stuff, but I couldn't find resources that were for those who just graduated or for those early in their career. I found a lot for people who were in junior, mid level roles. So, one of the major reasons why I created the Night Semesters because it's a resource that I wish that I had on my journey. And I knew that other people will probably, after me, probably be struggling on their early career journeys and I didn't want them to struggle like I did. So that was one of the biggest reasons. And then the second reason would be I was trying to break into the early career recruiting realm because I got really interested in that industry. And it was really hard to get my first entry level job in that role in that field. So, no one will give me a seat at the table. So I decided to create my own table. And the past 3 years have just really been me just doing anything that I want and just in terms of this early career space, like I'm able to work with students to connect them to different opportunities and just give them tips and tricks and resources that they haven't heard before, as well as like eventually like merging to working with these early career hiring teams. So I'm like a resource for both the students as well as the hiring teams in terms of like, you know, connecting the two and addressing any miscommunication. So it's been like a really fun way of just like incorporating like what I wish that I had when I was in my early career, along with creating a career based off of that.
Yeah, I love that. And for those of you who don't know, Jade is a really good gem and resource on LinkedIn. She posts a lot of good career tips, tricks, and resources there. And I really love how you talked about being able to have that duality of being like an advocate and supporting from that company side, but also from like that recruiting side for students and just saying, nobody gave me the chance, so I gave myself the chance and look at what it turned into. And I think that's amazing. I want to ask, what were your biggest growth moments in just everything that you've done from the ninth semester and getting into the early career space? What are like your biggest takeaways?
Mhm. I feel like my biggest growth moments, and it's one that I'm still actively doing too, is just getting the realm of just entrepreneurship and just what that looks like, what that feels like. And some days I have some high highs and some days I have some lows, and it's a learning experience for sure. Like I'm very grateful to where like I do have a full-time job outside the ninth semester. Like the ninth semester is not my main source of income, but it's great because it's like the resources that I get from just like having a full-time job, I'm able to put that towards my business and craft that there. So for me, I've just really been trying to like make my mark in just entrepreneurship and what that looks like for me personally. So that's been a big growth. And then just like really putting myself out there. Like when I started the ninth semester, I started on TikTok and most of my content creation journey has really been written content and just social media content. Like sometimes I'll be in front of the camera, but not often. But TikTok is where I really had to put myself in front of the camera and even just talking more. Like it was big for me because like I've never done it, and like sometimes I get nervous when I do videos because I've done YouTube videos in the past and I didn't like it. So I use TikTok as a way to challenge myself. Like I'm like, okay, I'm starting this new business. Now I had this new challenge to put myself in front of the camera, and it's been really cool because of that. Like I've been able to grow my brand on that platform. And then I'm also able to work and collaborate with other companies and organizations for influencer campaigns where I do have to talk in front of the camera and I'm not as nervous as I was before. And I know what works for me and just different strategies. And I've learned a lot more about video editing than I did in the past. So it it I went into it ready to embrace the different challenges that I was going to face, and I feel like it's helped with my confidence with my business. Like I'm not afraid to, put myself out there, even if I'm just like, even if I am in the video, even if I do stutter, even if there's a little editing mishap, like I feel confident in knowing that I'm still trying, and I still work on it every single day. So
No, totally. Especially, I can see that in that growth, especially on the panels that you host, like on Way Up with a lot of students and different opportunities there. So I can definitely tell that it paid off.
thank thank you.
Of course. And so I love how you talked about just your inspiration, especially from like an early career standpoint of just figuring out what you wanted to do. And since you primarily help early career out now, what do you think is the biggest difference between when you were in early career versus early career now? What do you see as the differences in what you can do?
I feel like because when I graduated, so I graduated in 2021, so it was a year after just like the lockdown, and everyone was still trying to just figure out what was going on and just figure out careers. And I feel like then it was hard just because a lot of companies, like, they were still doing the layoffs. Like, we've been seeing companies do major layoffs, like, for the past 3 years, especially those that hired a lot during the pandemic, and it's like they created all these roles, had all these spaces, and then it's like, "Wait, actually, we don't have space for everyone," and, like, we're seeing that. So it's like, I felt like when I was graduating we were starting to see that for the first time, but it wasn't until over the past few years it's really ramped up with the layoffs. Like I've spoken with students who are like scared they're graduating, they're going out into this job market because it's like literally everyone is firing everyone. So it's like who's hiring? So I feel like that was like a biggest thing where it's like there's more people now than ever who are being laid off. But then at the same time, I'm reading in the news or I'm seeing online, like, there's new jobs that are being created. And so it's like, it's confusing because it's like everyone's getting fired, but then they're also like, there are a lot of new jobs. So that's like been the biggest thing. But I feel like some things have been still kind of the same. Like, I still know peers who I graduated with or graduated a year after, and they're still struggling to find like a really great full-time job or something sustainable. So those issues are still there, and I feel like now it's like even more competitive because there's all these roles and all these graduates, and there's not enough roles for everyone. So it's like everyone's just like constantly fighting to just find something that works for them. So
No, I 100% agree. And I definitely think, on top of there being so many people let go, it's so many talented people too. So then, on top of being a graduate, you're going against all of these talented people that have also just been laid off. So it can be extremely difficult to get into an already saturated market, and now even more saturated because you're letting off people who are extremely talented and have been in roles, especially like 5, 15, 10 plus years.
yeah.
And I literally would love to hear about your creative process in terms of, creating your own opportunities. And when you're providing resources for early career, what does your content process look like? How do you decide what you're going to put out?
Mhm. So at its core, and when I tell people this, they get a little shocked, but a lot of the content that I post, I usually think of it day of. Like my content is just based off of vibes. But then I also have strategy. Like I regularly poll my students and just my audience, like especially on LinkedIn, just to figure out like what are they looking for. Like especially when I've had a huge boost in followers, like I have a huge new community. I want to know like why are you following me and what you're looking for. So sometimes like once a week I'll ask them like, are you looking for summer internships? Are you looking for full time? Or sometimes I might niche down where it's like, are you looking for underclassmen internships or are you looking for more STEM roles? And based on the results that I get on my polls, sometimes that kind of like dictate the content that I'll create this week. Like, so right now I'm in a wave where I'm pushing out a lot more entry level roles and rotational programs because that's the content that my audience is following me for and asking me for. But then I'm also keeping in mind of just like the time of year. Like people are graduating next month. Like this is the time when they're starting to look for those roles. So I like to poll the students, but I'm also just keeping in mind the time of year. Like when it's summertime, like I'm going to keep in mind, okay, like students are now going to be looking for fall internships. And with the way I have my content, I share content up until finding the role, up until like when you're at the company. I don't really
Mhm.
talk about like when you're at the company, what life looks like there, like because I realize like a big need and a big ask for my communities. Like they want to find the opportunities, they want to know how to ace the application process and the interview and how to get the role. Like they and a lot of them are talented enough to where it's like when they just need the role. Like they know what they're doing, they know how to navigate and just like even just with life, like even if it's their first internship, a lot of these internship programs are like aimed to like really help you develop in your professionalism. So they'll get that on the go learning about like what does it mean to work at a company? Like how does it, how does emails work and things like that? Like that's something that there are other people and other resources that can help you there. I'm the one that's going to help you get the job. So when I niche down with my content, I'm able to really like figure out, okay, what are my pillars? What are the things I'm going to focus on? And it's been great because it's like now I'm at a model where it's like, okay, like weekly I want to focus on this topic, or weekly I want to focus on this demographic. And with me and my content, I keep it open to everyone. Like I tell people all the time, I'm focused with all majors, but specifically college students and recent grads that are probably like 0 to 2 years post grad. And occasionally I'll get like the graduate students, like the MBAs or the pre laws, but like I make it very clear who my audience is, and I try to create content for everyone to follow. And it helps because I'm able to just like touch different areas and just make sure everyone gets their own individual like attention.
Yeah. And I love how you talked about kind of in that niche wave of just sometimes you have like a more open, wide audience, and then you do have those filtered downs in order to address your community needs and things like that. What has been on your community's radar recently? I know you talked about it being mainly those entry level and those like new grads. Has it been like a specific industry that's been in more demand for you? And how does that work for you right now?
Mhm. I will say in my demographic, I do have a lot of students who are looking for software engineering roles or technical roles. And then the next popular one would be like the marketing and the comms. But I try, like I said, I try my best to keep it for everyone because sometimes I get people who they want to work in the fashion industry or they want to work in I forget what it's called, but like with like working in museums and stuff like that, or working in like the library or cool things like that. So it's sometimes I really don't want to I don't want to label myself as like a person to follow for specific industries because like I want everyone to have something. But like I said, the biggest thing would be the entry level jobs. Like there and then just to go even further, where to find the entry level jobs. And that's like a question that I often ask myself because it's like I've heard like sometimes some people they'll see an entry level job and they're like they need 3 to 5 years of experience, and then it opens the question to where it's like, what do you count as experience? Because some companies count internships as experience, and some companies don't count internships as experience. So it's a lot of nuance. So I'm really aimed at just trying to find roles that are like specifically you're looking for someone with 0 to 2 years of experience. Internships count as experience, and then as well just like exposing my students to other opportunities post grad, so like rotational programs. That's been something I've been talking about a lot over the last few months, and what that looks like. And rotational programs are what I like to describe as full-time internships where you're in different rotations within sometimes you're 2 years or 3 years at that company, and it just exposes you to different departments. And then when you graduate that program, oftentimes you may have a choice to say which department that you want to be involved in. And I think rotational programs are great for those who they didn't get enough internship experience. Um and they're interested in industries, but they just don't know what department in the industry that they want to work in, because they could have wanted to work in healthcare, and they do a healthcare rotation where it's like they're working in like the different like business departments of the healthcare, so marketing and HR, and they might go in realizing like, wait, I actually really want to work in HR. So I think those programs are great for the students to just get exposure about like you don't have to have a linear path into your industry. Because like my path is not linear. I literally majored in maternal and child health, and I work in marketing, and that path has not been linear. So I try to like encourage people like you can do things outside of your major, and you most likely do have experience that you can leverage to help you get into it. It's just knowing what that experience is and just being able to speak on that.
Yeah, exactly. And you always give a lot of great advice about that, especially on just betting on yourself and things like that. And I want to know, when you first were starting into your career of transitioning to marketing, in what ways did you bet on yourself back then? What are some things that you asked yourself when wanting to transition to something completely different than your degree?
Hmm. For me, so I think just because I had made that decision my senior year, I really wanted to just try and get enough experience that I can. So I remember that spring semester, I was applying for marketing internships because I was like, okay, I want to work in this industry. And a lot of my marketing experience was self taught or just things I did with my business. So I wanted to work in the actual marketing role just to see, like, okay, is this something that I really want to do? Like, should I like I wanted to test to see if I wanted to do that before I committed like a full-time role into that. So immediately I started looking for summer internships, spring and summer internships that were in marketing. And it worked out. Like one of my first marketing internships was at Penguin Random House. So it was really cool because like I have a background in writing and specifically like writing books. So I was able to leverage the fact that I used to write books on Wattpad to get that internship. So little things like that. Like I always encourage students like think about your hobbies. Like a lot of your hobbies and stuff can be translated to a role. Like for most of the roles that I've gotten up until this point, like it's been because of the fact that I create content and I can speak to that. Like I at the role that I work now at Way Up, I used to work with them as a influencer partner through the ninth semester. So they already knew I was already aligned with the industry and I knew what I was talking about and I was creating content, so that leverage there. And then even for Penguin Random House, like it was Penguin Random House is a book publishing industry. I wrote books. Like I showed early on that I had an interest in that industry. So I encourage the people to do that. Like if you want to work in social media, like and you create social media content, whether it's like for yourself or other people, like you can definitely apply for social media internships, whether it's at companies or smaller agencies, and use that as past experience because that's experience. Like, yes, you may not have gotten paid, but like you're familiar with the process of creating that content, how to market that content. So I just challenge people to just like look at the things that you're doing and see how you can kind of like spin that as work experience. Because even if you weren't paid, like it doesn't matter if you weren't paid or not. It's still experience and it's very valuable, and you should leverage that.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's definitely a pitfall, like a misconception that a lot of students can definitely fall into very easily because of how, especially how job descriptions are structured. So, with, like you were saying, that experience or XYZ, as long as you can flip something, 9 times out of 10, you can get to work.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think that's something that's so powerful that people have to realize early on, because it's so much value when you look at your experiences and tailoring them to a job description and realizing I've had some sort of experience in that. And I have some goals or values that are aligned with that. And that leads kind of into my next question of just, we've talked so much about what you do and how you give to the community, whether that's in like your ninth semester or whether when that's in your actual job. And so I want to know, like, between just in yourself, what are like your visions and values for yourself of just how do you lead in what you do and who you are?
Hmm. I think for me, like my biggest thing with like the ninth semester is like I'm doing this because I genuinely want to do it. Like no one has forced me into it. Like and it's something that like it brings me joy, like and it's really cool. Like this is like the biggest thing with the night semester, like this is mine. Like I was trying to break into the early career recruiting space, and no one would give me a seat at the table, so I created my own. And for me it's like no one can take this away from me. Like a job, someone can easily take this away from you. But the ninth semester, this is mine. This is my passion project. I can dictate what I want to do, who I want to serve. Like, that's another thing that excites me is like, I have no one telling me what I can and cannot do. Like,
Yeah.
I literally do what I want to do, and it's been working. Like, I've been able to work with the same companies who, when I tried to apply for a role for them, I didn't get the job. And it's like, it's just very full circle. Or even just people who I've worked with in the past and I get to work with them in a different capacity. Like recently with Bumble, I used to be a Bumble campus rep my senior year. And in this past February, they were having workshops, professional development workshops for the ambassadors. And I was invited to do a workshop on LinkedIn. And to me, that was very full circle because it's like, I used to be in your same shoes. Like I literally was a Bumble honey as well. And now I'm being invited back to teach this workshop. So it's like things like that excites me because it's like, I get to really just like work with people that really see my vision, like, and they see the work that I'm doing and they see the passion. Like a lot of things in life, like I've always been told, like people can tell my passion for things. Like I'm a
Mhm.
very passionate person. I be rambling, but it's coming from a genuine place, and I think that's the biggest thing that like create a project that's yours because it's yours only. You have to say in it, and no one can take it away from you, and it can just grow. Like I don't like people sometimes ask me like where do I see the ninth semester in 5 years? And I literally cannot think that far. Like I don't even know where it's gonna be a year from now. And that's okay. Like I want to enjoy each step of the way and see where it leads and what it becomes.
Yeah. And that makes me think, if you had to describe yourself in 3 words, what would it be? Not
Mm.
even the ninth semester, not even LinkedIn, just you in general, because you talked about people can see your passion from a mile away. They don't have to ask any questions about that. So how would
Mhm.
you describe yourself in 3 words?
Mhm. I will say funny. That is a very I try to show. Actually, no. I try to show my humor on LinkedIn, but like LinkedIn is just not the place. But like people who know me personally, or people who know me outside of the ninth semester, I am extremely funny, and I take pride in that. I will say, um, I have to say creative. Like I feel like within the first time meeting someone, like that is one thing that they would immediately know about me is that I create things, whether it's creating content or concepts or just whatever. Like I like to create something new. Um Recently someone told me that I have a magnetic energy, and I think that was like a really nice word. Like I'm someone who like I just connect really well with people. Like not everyone, because like you can't connect with everyone, but like there's been many times in my life where people just like tell me things. Like they just feel comfortable enough to open up to me or just tell me things. And it's like I like to create that space for people where it's like you can talk. Like I've had the same way I like to ramble with people, like I've had people ramble on to me and they apologize for it. And I'm like, no, like it's fine. Like because sometimes you really do just need those spaces to just talk openly and just connect. And it could be like on any topic ever. So I would say oh my god, I can't even remember the first word I said. I definitely said creative.
You said funny,
Okay, funny, creative, and magnetic. Those will be like 3 words I would use to describe myself.
and that see, to me, that's my type of funny. Like, even when you can't even remember what you last said, that's my type of funny. And I love that that's how you describe yourself. I think I ask that question so much because it just changes at every phase of your life, and I like to see
Mhm,
where people are now and not even just tie it to what they do, but just in who you are. And I love how when you were talking about you're just creative. You create so many things. You created opportunities for yourself. You create opportunities for others. You bridge gaps. And that passion shows that you draw people into these opportunities, which goes straight into your magnetic aura. Like it's a red thread all the way through. And that's so
mhm,
amazing to see people describe themselves like you can see the vision. You can see what they're talking about. And I
mhm,
totally get it where you're coming from of I don't even know what's gonna happen a year from now. I can maybe think 1 month ahead. Like that's just what I can give myself in being completely transparent. But I really love that you explain yourself that way. And you're just such a very empowered person. You have a lot of confidence to yourself. And I want to
Mhm.
ask, is there anybody that's inspired you? Is there any mentor that helped build you up? Was it all self-made? That's good too. But like, I just want to ask, what fuels you? Who is invested in you?
Mhm. I've definitely had like over the years like a few mentors and just inspirations, and I will say like my biggest like creative inspirations would be like Issa Rae, Quinta Brunson. I'm trying to remember who else. Some creators, like there's this one creator on TikTok, Courtney Fudge, like these people just like the way that they just tell their stories or the way like even just like with Quinta and Issa, like they're hilarious. Like they're effortlessly hilarious, but they're also very passionate about their work and they're very just their journeys too. Like I remember with Quinta and Issa, like they had YouTube channels. And now they have TV shows and all these different brands in their deals. Like they really inspire me a lot. And Courtney Fudge, she talks a lot about just like dating and relationships and food and just like merging those two together. And those are two of my favorite things. Like I love, like I have a personal blog outside of this called Love Jake Carson, and it's evolved over the years. Like in college, it was more so college and lifestyle focus, and now more so it's like lifestyle and relationships and just like my thoughts. Like I just share my thoughts on things, and I love how she talks about food and dating and just the way she merges those two topics together. Like, and she's just a very like poetic with her words, and I love those creators. And then as far as mentor, like I've had a few. Like I've had some for my sorority. I had one that I met over a year ago through creating content for the ninth semester. He works at a different job board, and one of the posts that I made helped connect him with like a potential client for the business. And ever since then, like he's someone who definitely constantly pours into me. Like I come to him about just like pretty much like my professional issues or just like anything. Like he is just so great, and just he's someone who really like he reminds me, like I don't mean guys, he reminds me that I'm the shit when I forget. And I think that is just so important for me to have, because sometimes I'm just on go, 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 and I'm accomplishing all these things. I'm doing all these things, and I don't always remember to just really sit down and appreciate my wins. And or sometimes like I might doubt myself, and he makes sure that I don't. Like the minute I slip up and forget, he reminds me, and he also pours so much into me. And just over recently, I've just been meeting other people who are entrepreneurs and just being able to talk about what that experience is like and connect with those people. So these I and even just right now, like I'm still like I still got some stuff in the works I'm quiet about, but like I am actively seeking different mentorship or just different initiatives to pour into me as much as I pour into others. Because as much as like I could be like a resource and leader in different ways, like I need that too. Like I'm still
Mhm.
very early in my career. Like I've only been working since, well, I guess next September would make 3 years, but I only just recently graduated. Like I'm a little older than most of the other Gen Zers, but like I'm still Gen Z. I'm still class of 2021. I also still graduated in a pandemic. Like I'm still figuring out my early career, and I need those other people too. So that's something that I've been working on, especially for 2024, just being intentional and making sure that I'm pouring into myself as much as I'm pouring into others.
Yeah. And that's a great lesson that everybody can take away from. And I think, speaking on wins, I definitely have to give you like a from my perspective of how I met you and where you were to where you are now. Like I remember following you when you had like 6,000 followers on LinkedIn. And
Which
you're
is
at
great.
like 40,000 now. Like that's huge.
It
That's
is. It is scary sometimes because I'm like, this is a lot of people. Like, this is a lot of people, but it's cool. Like, I'm just happy that more people are just finding out about the resources. Like, that's like some of my favorite comments I get from people is like when they say that they're grateful to have found my page and how much it has helped them in their journey. Cause that's why I created this. Like, I remember being in their shoes, looking for people like me, looking for resources like me. So it makes me happy to know that I'm able to help other people. And it just if I can just help someone else just a little bit, like if I can expose them to like a brand new program or a brand new internship or just like something that they never learned before, whether it was in school or just like professionally, like that makes me happy because it's like that's one less person who is worried and stressed out about how they're going to navigate their early career.
Exactly. And I think you and I kind of have the same sentiment, especially with me being on the HR side of just wanting to provide people with opportunities. And I know at least from within my bag of resources, you're definitely in there. Because I will definitely for y'all who are listening, I will definitely comment Jade's name at least 3 times a week. Like if someone's asking for a resource or something, I'm like, oh, you got to follow Jade, especially if it's an early career talent and student. Like I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm always going to recommend Jade. And that 1 out of 10, I'm probably asleep or something. Like,
And I really appreciate that. Like I really appreciate you, and I'm even just like even this opportunity. Like people sleep on LinkedIn. Like I literally met you on LinkedIn, and now we're here on your
yeah,
podcast. So it's like I've really that's another thing I've been appreciative with my blog. Like I've been able to meet so many amazing people that I don't know how else I would have met them. So it's like I'm grateful for that because it's like I have people that I can learn from and I could work together, and it's like it's just cool because it's like we get to see each other like grow in our careers too and see like where we're going and where we were when we first met each other and everything. So it's cool to see that journey.
yeah. And I just want you to know that I'm so glad that you have a support system around you and that there are other people out here rooting for you. Like I definitely know I'm one of many that are reaching out and wanting to have people have more exposure to you because we understand everything you've just said about yourself. We understand how passionate you are. We understand how creative you are. We understand how talented you are, but we also understand how impactful you are beyond multiple communities, beyond just Gen Z and in the corporate workplace. So I
Thank
just
you.
want to give you your flowers because I don't think that anybody personally gets their flowers enough, but I just want to make sure that I always give you yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. And I want to kind of talk about something that you actually mentioned of just it warming your heart when people come back to you and they say, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that I found your page. What are some of your like biggest quotes that you've gotten from people or your biggest like thank you moments that have just made you smile if you have any memorable ones?
hmm One that comes to mind for sure is when someone was like you're way more helpful than my campus advisor. And sometimes some people's like, I can't believe you're giving this information out for free. And honestly, I just like I love when I get messages from people who is like, I found out about this opportunity because of you and I got it. Like I've had a few, like I saw one recently, this girl, she found out about externships, but about of what they were from me. She applied, she got one, and now she's like a student ambassador for that company. Or just like other messages where people's like, yeah, like I got this internship because I saw you post about it, or I applied for this thing because I saw you post about it. Because it's like it's really cool because sometimes some people you really don't know about these opportunities until someone shares with you. Like there's a lot of opportunities that like I come across where I'm like, I didn't even know that this company offered this or that they had this or they had all these really cool perks. So it's like I love messages like that where it's like it's spreading that awareness because that's the biggest thing. Like I feel like when people find out the awareness of programs or just things for them, that makes me happy because like that's the whole like I wish like if I could go back in college, I definitely would have done more internships. I really don't know why I didn't do as many internships. I had my own struggles, but like if I had the information that I knew now, like I can only imagine where I would be. But at the same time, I'm happy. Like all the things, all the actions, all the places that I've been have brought me to this moment right now. So it's like it worked out. But like it's cool to be able to help because some I've seen my audience grow with me. Like I've seen people who were sophomores when they followed me, now they're graduating. And it's like, wow, like some people have really been here for a really long time. And I've been able to help them throughout their college career. So it's really cool to see.
No, yeah. I remember literally like seeing people comment underneath your post, like, thank you so much. Like, this is just a great opportunity. And then seeing other students even connect in your comment section. Like,
Mhm.
that's the craziest thing to me of just like, it's not even just in a connection of opportunities, but if they see other students that are like, you seem kind of cool. I want to get to know you, or like-minded individuals, especially for like those unique ones that you were talking about like being like a curator at a museum or working in a library and things like that. those students find their way because of this just central hub that you have of just connection. I think the best thing that revolves around all of your resources and what you do is that you have just such a connected but also comfortable atmosphere. So it's like by you just being you and being authentic, I know that inspires so many people to be themselves. And it shows in the comment section. It really does.
Hmm. I definitely agree. It is cool because it's like you meet your people. Like I've met people just through creating content or just seeing their content. But it's even cooler just to see the students, like you meet other people who are also interested in that very niche thing that you're in, and now you have a new friend and you met them and you have all these resources that you can share with each other. So, and I think that's like another big thing that I've noticed a lot of students have been seeking just because of the pandemic. Like they're looking for that community. They're looking for other people to connect with. And I think just like through creating this content, I'm able to help connect people with others who, like you said, are other like-minded individuals.
Exactly. And you're helping people write their own stories, no matter what path it is, because you just provide all the possibilities. So they don't have to stay where they're at because they have all of these opportunities or all of these resources that you've given. And so, in writing our own stories, I want to ask because I did not know that you interned with a publishing company. And I want to know if it was up to you and you could create like your own book, what would you write about?
Mhm. For me, I definitely would love to write a children's book. Like that has always been at the top of like my goals. So I definitely would write something like a children's book. Like I love how over the years just there's been an increase in diverse children's book. Like I think I saw one, I can't remember. But like I've seen one about students who have autism or those who are learning sign language or those who have a parent who's disabled, like very niche things where it's like, oh, you may not think that a student will want to, a child will want to read this, but like they feel seen reading that book. Like I know for like The Little Mermaid, when Hallie was the mermaid, like a lot of young Black girls are able to see themselves in a Disney movie. Or like for Disney, I know recently for they did something that's based in Nigeria. And I have a lot of best friends and a lot of friends who are Nigerian. So it's like to see that now is just so empowering. So it's like I want to create a very niche children's book about that experience, whatever that experience may be, or even just like just children's books, just like that are just cute and have and just show diverse people in stories. So that would be that would definitely be like my top thing to do.
Yeah, and you're talking about, like, even a children's book, or would you do a series too? Or would it be, like, a little mix of both?
I think I'll probably do it depends. It depends on like how well the first book does. Like I feel like if I were to do a series, like one in particular I was thinking about would be like if I had a child. Like I've seen people do that, like where they made like a book series about their kid. I would do something cute like that because it's like this is for you, but then it's also like we're gonna share your story with everyone. And it wouldn't necessarily be like stories about their life as a kid, but like they're the main character. So it's like I always like to think of things like long term. Like I know long term, if like I've made a book about my daughter or son, their daughter will be able to read it, and it was just like generational.
Yeah, and not even just that, of, like, they knew that they were the main character from the beginning of their life. So,
Mhm.
for anybody to try and tell them that they weren't, absolutely not.
Mhm. Literally, it's like my mom literally wrote a book about me. Like I am the main character.
Exactly. And I remember all of the like Halle Bailey TikTok reels going around of all the Black girls sitting in front of the televisions. And I remember when Disney Plus came out with the African series that you were talking about. I remember that. And I
Mhm.
also remember like when Issa Rae was President Barbie in Barbie, and everyone
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, period," because we got a black female president. Love that. I love just talking about diverse experiences, and that's beyond the HR and me, but also just us as Black women being able to foster that type of community and understand how important it is to have diverse perspectives, but also that diversity of thought from different communities and how valuable that is and what's that puts for the next generation, but also for the rest of us within that existing community as we grow. So I love
Mhm.
that that's your first topic that you think of for a children's book.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like there's just diverse stories are fun. Like it's just so fun to just learn about different people, different cultures, and just like different walks of life. So it's like I love that there's been that increase. in children's books like that, or even just like young adult books. Like I have some books on my shelf of some Black romance books. And when I was in high school and middle school, I wish I would have had some of these books to read. So it's like I love to see that like I get to heal my inner child through reading some of these Black romance books or just like diverse books that I wish that I had growing up.
Yeah, I remember before I started my podcast, I've been listening to this podcast called Balanced Black Girl for like 3.5, 4 years now. And I felt like that was just my universe right there of just being able to see a Black female figure also just go through her struggles of what she was going with through her life and just her community, and how she has shown in each episode, she just cultivates this wonderful environment for like her interviewees of just tell me about yourself and what you want to do, and just creates this atmosphere of feeling comfortable and sharing those diverse stories. I love that there's just more people out there that are like that, because you really never know who's watching and who's
Mhm,
listening for that, because I guarantee you that you've inspired someone else to definitely do something that they thought they could never do just by seeing you do it and seeing you
mhm,
unapologetically do it too.
mhm. I definitely agree. And I'm gonna definitely have to check out that podcast. Like I've heard that name around, but I'll probably go after this. I'll probably go listen to it for sure.
Yes. Shout out Les. She's so good. I love her podcast. I love what she does. And I think she's just a great inspiration for everybody, not even just Black women, the way that she's able to articulate just everything that comes across her mind, and how she creates just such diverse episodes and all the different topics that she does. Like, yes, she's niche, but you wouldn't even really know that because of how
Mhm,
expansive her journey has been throughout her podcasting. And like you were talking about the growth, and it changes at every point in your life of where you think you're at, and how you might describe yourself, even from college with maternal health, then going into early career recruiting and marketing, of just, I have eras about both of my lives. I have eras of content that goes to both things, but it all just has a through line of just showing what my career journey was and what my trajectory was, whether that was linear or not.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
and speaking to that, I want to ask, are there any like lasting long tips as we go ahead and wrap up our episode here of just, they don't even have to be early career tips to students, of just things that you've learned that you would love to pass on to our listeners, of just things to keep in mind, whether they're life tips, career tips. We already know that you're in your bag with the tips and tricks, so we know these are all going to be valuable. So,
Mhm. I would say like my biggest thing because I have had an increase in people just like asking me how I balance content creation as well as working or just like how to just put yourself out there as a content creator. And like my biggest advice is just like to remember that like everyone has a story to share. Like even if you kind of like no matter what your niche is, like people just they're interested in getting to know you as an individual. Like you may not think that your life may not be interesting, but like other people can. Like there's been things like I remember going into the ninth semester, I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to be interested in early career stuff. Like, I didn't, I honestly, like, I knew my blog would grow, but like, I didn't think it would grow as quickly as it did and how big it's become. But it's like literally just put your, because you're going to find your target audience. Target audience is going to find you. So that's what that was like the biggest thing that I had to remember. Like there, whoever wants to see my content, they'll find it. So I encourage people to just like, if you want to content create, like you really just got to put yourself out there and just create fun content and just like kind of forget everyone else. Like for the ninth semester, like I just create what I can tell my audience wants, but it's also just like fun and very digestible. Like something that I get a lot in terms of like what my content is very digestible. Like I'm not using crazy jargon. Like I'm not using crazy terms. Like I keep it straight to the point. Like I go straight to the point and I share what you need to know. And I'm also sharing honest facts. Like I shared tidbits from like what I did during my early career journey because my career path post grad was very untraditional. So it's like I I encourage people to like just do go outside the norms. Like the first job that I got was at TikTok, and it was because I created a TikTok for their TikTok resumes pilot program. So for that, it's like you got to do things that no one else is doing. And I know it sucks. It sucks that you even have to do that in this climate. Like because we were told in college, you're going to go to college, get a 4-year degree, and then you find a job. Like we were told that it was going to be something easy. Like we thought it was going to be an easy process. And so far it hasn't been, but like, depending on whatever you want, whether it's like a job or just something in life, you really just have to go out there and get it and like just do everything. Like the work that I do for the 9th semester, the work that I just do in my life, like it didn't come to me easy. Like I'm putting in the work. I'm working twice as hard as everyone else to get what I want to do. And it's like, just put yourself out there and understand that like the worst that someone can tell you is no. So that's my biggest thing. Like just put yourself out there. It doesn't matter what you want to do, what industry you want to work in, like put yourself out there, put your best foot forward, and then most importantly, just like be confident and also be a little delusional too. Like I did not think that that video resume was going to turn into a job, but like if anything, they'll just say no. But I wouldn't know unless I tried. So that's like my biggest thing. Like you won't know what someone will say unless you try, unless you do everything that you can in your power. And if they say no, then it's like, okay, you move on to the next thing, but at least you'll know, okay, like you know the answer instead of just like sitting in the unknown and wondering like what could have happened if I did XYZ. Like where could I have been if like instead of like you sitting and waiting to start that business, like imagine if you started that business today, like where could you be a year from now? Like you could literally be like you could have like a multi-million-dollar business all because you decided to just say I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna do it unapologetically.
No, literally. And even then, like they could say no now and they could say yes later.
I've had a few no's that eventually became yeses. And sometimes for some things, it's just a waiting game. Like it took me like, I've been trying to get into the early career space since 2021, and I didn't officially get a role in that title until 2023. But like I created a fun project along the way and I just enjoyed the journey. So for some things, it may take a little longer than others, but like when you finally get it, you're going to be happy and you're going to be happy that you took the path that you took to get there.
Yeah. And I love that lasting message of just you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And going
Mhm.
off of that, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today about you, your role, but also just your journey over time of everything that you've done, things that you're doing currently in the present, and even some delulu things about the future. So I really appreciate you taking your time.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much for having me. And just like, I'm just really grateful that we were able to connect. And, you know, now this has spiraled into us like being on this podcast together. So I'm very grateful for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode, but a new segment of the Intentional Intern podcast. Tune in next time for another episode of a Students Declassified Market Supporting Guide. Let us know what you think about this new segment, as well as what or who you would want to hear from next. Have a good one.